started here in just a second. Oh, there's the microphone. On your seats, we got a little something for all y'all. First off, we want to say I hope you guys had a great first day of school yesterday. To all the Carrollton kids, to the class of 2021. I'm glad that you guys get to have a senior year, but I hope that Bremen Central, all the schools, that you guys stay safe this school year. We're doing a little mini version of our fall kickoff tonight. Good news is we're going to have a little bit shorter of a service, and we're going to go outside, and we've got a buttered udder truck out there. We're going to eat ice cream, just hang out, play games, and just spend some time as a Jesus family. So it'll be good. But on your seats, we wanted to give you guys a little gift to start the school year. So we put a 912 sticker on all of your seats. Put it on your notebook, your water bottle, your backpack. I don't know, do you guys still have lockers? Is that still a thing? Could you have that? No? Yeah, because people put contraband in lockers. So whatever, we gave you a 912 sticker to put it anywhere, rep your Jesus family, and then this is something we're doing as a whole church. So if your family goes to Southern Hills, you get this pizza night thing. We're doing it for everybody. Basically, Southern Hills is doing a series about being rich and being generous, and we're giving away free pizza. So Chloe's pumped about the free pizza. So pumped about the free pizza. So if you guys will do me a favor, if you guys will stand up, we've got another all-student-led band tonight. And so our friend Alec, Maddie, and Lorelei are going to lead us in a few songs. Give it up for our band.
Is this thing on? Okay, good. We're going to go into time worship, you guys. You're already standing. Just be free and worship the Lord tonight, God, and focus on Him.
Saturday was silent, surely it was through. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? Friday's disappointment is Sunday's empty tomb. Since when has impossible ever stopped you?
This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out, I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling.
Pentecostal fire is stirring something new. You're not gonna run out of miracles anytime soon. Yeah, resurrection power runs in my veins too. Yeah, I believe there's another miracle here in this room.
This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out, I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling.
My God is able to save and deliver and heal and restore anything that He wants to. Just ask the man who was thrown on the bones of Elisha if there's anything that He can do. Just ask the stone that was rolled at the tomb.
every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in
His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children.
May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May His presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you, He is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 He is for you.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Bow your heads and let's pray. God, I pray for every single one of these students in this room that they open up their hearts and that they just listen to what Trey says and they really take it accountable, especially because now that we're in school, and I hope that they put it in practice, that we are not supposed to be alone, that we are supposed to be in this community for a reason. I pray for Trey that he speaks words of wisdom. Amen.
I promise to talk fast so we can go outside and hang out and have some buttered udder. But I want to finish up this conversation. If you guys are good at math, we've been in this series called The 5 Lies of Life. And if you've been paying attention, we've gone through all 5 lies, but this is a 6-week series. And so we're going to talk about the truth tonight, and the truth about life, and the truth about what truly makes us happy. But before we do, all of you should have a card underneath your seat and a pen. You guys don't have to use the card. You can use a notebook, but here's what we're going to do. You don't need it right now, but it'll be important in a minute, because if you remember, back in week 1, I had you guys draw. And if you guys remember what we drew little stick figures of ourselves, and we talked about your past, your present, and your future you. And we talked about this main question, and the main question we wanted to answer week 1 was this question: who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? That's a question that all of us have to answer, this idea of who do we want to be? Who do we want to be known as? Who do we want people to see us as? Who do we want to be? It's a big question that all of us are still trying to answer, and all of us are sorting through. And so I encourage you that week 1 is that basically we talked about this idea of the better me, that whoever you want to be, first off, you need to decide who you want to be. And then you got to be intentional about your growth and chasing after that. And we're going to talk about one more question tonight. But before we do, I want to recap this series. And if you guys will do me a huge favor before we actually recap this series, our friend Cameron Ebensberger has painted all 5 of these and a 6th that I will reveal at the very end. So if you do me a favor, did she not do an amazing job with the paintings? Can we clap for Cameron? She crushed it. So We may or may not be giving these away as just sort of kind of a reminder of what we've learned in this series. But week 1, we talked about the lie of the better me. We've talked about it. That your past, present, and future self all matter, and that if your past self thought your present self would deal with the issues, and if you're not careful, you'll drag them into your future. And essentially, we're not getting better unless we're intentional. That was week 1. Week 2, we talked about the lie of career and calling. This one was more like a coffee talk, like you and I sat across the table and we had a conversation about your future. What do you want to, the question week 1 was, who do I want to be? The question week 2 was, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do? At some point, all of you will hopefully graduate high school and you will move on and you will have a career. But the truth is, we want you to know this, the truth is your career is not your calling. Your career is a means to an end. And that end is to hopefully glorify Jesus. And then week 3, we talked about this lie, and I talked about how I joked about how I wrecked my bank account recently, but the lie that stuff is enough. That the more stuff that we buy, the more things that we have, if we just have more stuff, we'll have enough in life to be happy. And the truth is, we all know that that's not true because we have clothes that go out of style, cars that break down, and eventually our stuff lets us down. And last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about the lie of the lone wolf. This is a personal favorite because we're probably going to talk about this often, is that you were created for community. You were never meant to do life alone. You were meant to do life arm in arm, hand in hand, walking through with somebody. We actually talked about this verse of not just were you meant not just to be a lone wolf, but instead you were actually meant to carry each other's burdens and to walk through pain, walk through hardship with each other. And last week we talked about the lie of trust your heart. And basically that culture and all of this, they kind of tell you, hey, just trust your heart. And what trust your heart really means is trust yourself. And if we're being honest, all of our poor decisions that we've ever made, ourself has been involved in all of those. And so the truth is that we shouldn't trust our heart. Instead, we should trust God and trust others. And so these are just 5 lies of life. And the reason we didn't call this series The 5 Lies of Life, but instead just 5 lies of life, because there's ultimately other things about life that aren't true. But these are 5 things that we hope and we pray that you take with you for the rest of your life. That when you're picking a college, you know that whatever career path you choose, that your career is not your calling, but instead it's a means to an end. Or maybe someday when you're rich and famous and you get to drive a nice car, that you realize that stuff will never bring you the happiness you think it will. Or maybe you'll be faced with a decision about a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a relationship, and somebody may tell you, trust your heart, and you go, whoa, that's not true. I need to trust God and trust others. The hope for this entire series is that you take these lies, you expose them, and then that you actually live in the truth. And all of these lies have been based on questions, and so we've got one last question for you tonight that isn't really involved in a lie, but instead it's kind of a motto that I want each of you to kind of answer and to live by. So tonight's final question is this: what makes you happy? What makes you happy? I want you to write that down on that card. What makes you happy? I talked a lot about statistics and about all these different things, but your generation is one that has said over and over and over again in studies, it is the most restless and it is the most unhappy. I had a conversation with a friend a few weeks ago, and he looked me in the face and he said, Trey, because I asked him, I said, dude, what makes you happy? And he says, honestly, I don't know. Every time I think about something that could possibly make me happy, I think about all the things that could possibly go wrong. And so this is a big question that all of us are dealing with. What makes you happy? And so I was going to come up here and I was going to have this cool illustration where I had a briefcase, and I was going to pretend like there was a briefcase, and that briefcase was full of money. And I was going to go down and I wanted to talk to maybe Olivia or maybe Catherine or maybe Maddie. And I'd say, hey, if I had a briefcase full of money and I gave you that briefcase, and that briefcase had enough money that you could buy anything that you've ever wanted, you never had to worry about money ever again, I have a question for you. Would you still be happy? Because as followers of Jesus, we're called to something so much more, but we get distracted by things we think will make us happy. So my question still remains, what makes you happy? And if you had all the money in the world, like I said, my wife and I sometimes, we play the lottery, and we'll say, hey, like just for fun, like we only play if it's like 500 million because it's not worth it to win anything less than that. But sometimes we'll play the lottery, and if we win, if we ever won, we kind of joked about what we would buy. And obviously, you know me, I would buy more shoes than is appropriate, okay? But we asked this question if we won $500 million, her and I actually kind of got in an argument about this because I said I would still go to work, and she said, you're nuts. And I said, no, I love my job. But it's like if we had all the money and we didn't have to work for a paycheck and we didn't have to worry about the electric bill or we didn't have to worry about our cars breaking down, we had all the money we could ever dream of, would you be happy? Would you be happy? Because the truth is, a lot of us, we live in this reality that we think that if we get everything we ever wanted, we will be happy. Going back to last week, because we think we know what's best for ourselves, right? We trust our heart and we think we know what will make us happy. I want to introduce you to somebody today in the Bible that is not super well known. And his name is kind of weird, but it's we're just going to say it. His name is Koheleth. It's this, Koheleth. Turn to your neighbor and say Koheleth. Oh, no, you got to say it. It's actually an ancient Hebrew word, so I want you to turn to your neighbor and say it like this, like Koheleth, because that's how they said it back then, Koheleth. Some of y'all just definitely passed the Rona when you did that. No, this guy's name is Koheleth, and here's why you've never heard of him in the Bible. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody knows who he is. If you're familiar with the Bible and kind of like how it's laid out, there's a middle portion of the Bible that's often referred to as wisdom literature. It's got Psalms, it has Proverbs, it has Songs of Solomon, and it has a book called Ecclesiastes. And if you have your Bibles, you have your phone, I actually want you to turn to Ecclesiastes because we're going to read a somewhat longer passage than usual tonight. But here's why I wanted to introduce you to our friend Koheleth. I can't even say it right. I'm just going to call him K so I don't keep messing this up. So I'm going to introduce you to our friend K. And here's what you need to know about K. Many people think that King Solomon, if you're familiar with the Bible, it's actually the son of King David, the guy who killed Goliath. And then, so King David had a son, and his son's name was Solomon. And if you know the story of Solomon, he actually asked God for wisdom, and God grants it. And he's known as one of the wisest people to ever live, and he wrote most of Proverbs. And most biblical scholars for the longest time actually thought that he wrote Ecclesiastes, but the truth is that after a lot of debate and understanding the Bible, actually Solomon didn't write it. Actually, Koheleth did. And if you know what that word means, it's actually ancient Hebrew, and Koheleth just means teacher or guidance or instructor. And so here's what we know about Koheleth. He had everything. He was the most important man in all the land. He had all the things. Some say he might have been a king. Some said he might have been the vice president. Either way, whatever he was back in the day, he was the guy. There was nobody more powerful than him. He had everything he could ever want. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to read about him. And we're going to read from his own words what he says to people. And it's kind of long, but I want you to track with me, okay? There's a lot here. It's about 11 verses, and I'm going to read it, but there's so much here that we have to unpack. I'm going to do it in about 90 seconds, but I just got you got to stay with me, okay? This is what Koheleth said. Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 1. I said to myself, come on, let's try pleasure. Let's look for the good things in life. But I found that this too was meaningless, aka he was living for pleasure, and he tried to find it but never could. So I said, laughter is silly. What good does it do to seek pleasure? So after much thought, I decided to cheer myself with wine. He said, I don't know what to do, but wine sounds great. And so he turned to a bottle. And while still seeking wisdom, I clutched to foolishness. In this way, I tried to experience the only happiness most people find during their brief life in this world. Here's where it gets real. I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself. And by planting beautiful vineyards, I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect the water to irrigate my many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I also owned large herds and flocks, more than any of the kings who have ever lived in Jerusalem before me. I collected great sums of silver and gold, the treasure of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, had many beautiful concubines. I had everything a man could desire. So I became greater than all who had ever lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied myself no pleasure. I found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all my labors. But as I looked at everything I worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. I want to stop and unpack that for a second. So what he is saying is this. He's like, dude, I got all the things. He's like, I got all the money. I got all the honeys. I got all the everything. I got everything I could ever want. He's got servants to do whatever he wants. He's got gold. He's got silver. He's got everything he could ever want, but yet he has nothing at all. He says it's all meaningless, and he uses this phrase, chasing after the wind. And you know what that stands for? It stands for something you can never attain. Basically, what he was trying to do, and he's admitting this, he's saying, I tried to find pleasure, tried to find my calling, my purpose, my happiness in things, in life, in success, in my job, in everything, and turns out it's like chasing after the wind. He agrees. Like chasing after the wind. Basically, you can never catch it, and even if you might, it'll never bring you the satisfaction that you think it will. You see this tension going on in Koheleth's heart where he goes, I am trying to fill a hole in my heart, and everything I have tried to fill it with has left me empty again and again and again and again. And so he is stuck struggling with this question of what makes you happy. He says, I've had everything, and yet I am not happy. Now, I want to stop for like just a quick second. A lot of times, like, you ever heard like a celebrity or a rich person, or maybe even like Koheleth like this? He says, like, basically what he's saying, he's like, he's at the top of the hill. He's at the pinnacle of human achievement in human terms. He's got everything, the money, all the things. We've already talked about that. And basically what he's doing, he's at the top. He's looking down. He's saying to everybody who's kind of trying to be like him, and he's going, hey, it's not that great. All the money, all the cars, all the things, all the women, all the men, all the popularity that we think we want, we think will make us happy, it's not that great. And if I'm just being honest, a lot of times when like celebrities say that or athletes say that, or they'll say, hey, like money and all that stuff will never actually bring you the happiness you think, I'm like, yeah, but I'd like to try. You know? Like, I'd like to do the whole filthy rich thing, you know? I just want to see how it is, okay? Right? Like, for all the people at the top say, like, hey, it's not that great, but us down here, we're looking up, we're going, hey, it doesn't look that bad, okay? Like, I'd like to try that. I'd like to try that but here's the thing. We know it's not true, but we've convinced ourselves that if we just get the next thing, we'll be happy. If I just get that job, if I just make that team, if I just get that next thing, I will be happy. And just like we're chasing after the wind, you spend your life chasing after happiness, and it's just like that. This might sound like a dumb analogy, but you ever seen that Geico commercial where he's got the dollar on a fishing line, and he's like, oh, almost got it. It's a lot like that. Where it's like, oh, almost got it. Oh, there's happiness. Oh, it's right there. You almost got it. Oh, it's okay. I didn't make the team that I wanted to make. Okay, whatever. I'm on JV. If I make varsity, I'll be happy. If I have a girlfriend, I'll be happy. Right? And a lot of you are struggling with that because a lot of you, it's like you're still answering this question of what makes you happy. I thought about not doing this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So here we go. I'm gonna read you a list of names. Robin Williams, Kate Spade, Junior Seau, Chester Bennington, about 150 other names. If you know any of those names, those are all multi-million-dollar celebrities, actors, athletes, designers who completed suicide. In our version of their life, we say they have everything that they could ever want. How could they not be happy? and we're looking at health, he goes, yeah, that's not true. But then we look, and there's story after story after story where people think if I can just have that next thing, I'll be happy. And the truth is, this idea of what makes you happy, it may be deep, it may be kind of heavy, but here's the thing, your life is riding on it. Because so many people in our society are chasing after happiness, and what they're doing is they're chasing happiness, but they're really chasing the wind. They're chasing something they can never attain. And if you actually read Ecclesiastes, and I would encourage you, if you haven't read that book, I would say we don't really have a 9-12 reading plan for this series. Sometimes we do, but I would encourage you, spend this week and go read Ecclesiastes. It's deep. It'll get you. It talks about how pleasure will never bring you the happiness you think it will. It talks about how affirmation and popularity and stuff will never bring you the happiness you think it will. It's a tough one, but I encourage you to read it. So I'm going to close with this. My hope and my prayer is that you don't waste your life chasing after the wind. My hope and my prayer is that you don't spend your life chasing after happiness. That's like it's the next best thing. If I just get it, I'll be happy, I'll be happy, and I'll be happy. And then you waste your life never truly being happy because your happiness is based and built on something that will never make you happy. So the question is, what are we chasing? Or what should we chase? Right? All of us are trying to live a life on purpose, for a purpose. I said that at the beginning of the series. Like, I don't know about you, but I want to live life on purpose, for a purpose. And all of us are chasing something. All of us are chasing maybe popularity or affirmation or love or all of these things. And so the question is, if we don't want to chase the wind and we want to chase happiness, then what is our happiness? What do we chase? And I came up with this phrase, and it sounds cool in my head, and so hopefully it resonates with your heart. But here's what I want you to do this school year. As of Tuesday, everybody's officially back in school, and if I could put this on a sticker, if I could make it like your screensaver, if I could put this all over, I would make this your motto for the 2020-2021 school year, and it's this: chase the boring. Chase the boring. It'll come up in a second, I promise. Chase the boring. You're like, great, that sounds boring, Trey. Like, what the heck does that even mean? So we talk about chasing the wind. It's chasing these things that will never make us happy, but I have this idea: chase the boring. Chase the boring. I was having a conversation with some students on Saturday over Labor Day weekend, and we were talking about Christians versus non-Christians. And in the course of the conversation, we were talking about like how we as Christians, we get accused of being boring, right? We get accused of being rule followers. We don't like to have fun. We like to have chips and salsa and Bible studies, right? Like, we don't like to party. We don't like to do any of these things that the world says is fun. We accused of getting boring. In high school, somebody called me a fun sucker because they said I sucked the fun out of everything. I was like, well, that's really aggressive, okay? Like, as Christians, a lot of times we're accused of being boring. We don't want to do the fun things of life. And our conversation with the students, that it really revolved a lot around drinking, where a lot of times we're accused, oh, you don't want to drink, you don't want to party, you don't want to go out, you don't want to go do all these things. And it's like, listen, I've seen that lifestyle. And it's almost like, have you ever noticed it, that the people that like to do that, it's like that's their life. Like, they live for Friday night. They live for Saturday night. They live for the next guy, for the next girl, for the next drink, for the next hit, for whatever it is. And it's like, no, I look at your life, and it looks like majority of your life is actually pretty boring, and it's really not that fun. And I love like when students tell stories about how like they're drinking and they're partying, and it's like, oh yeah, we got in a fight with my boyfriend. And it's like, that doesn't sound fun at all. Or I got in trouble, or I got ISS, or I did all these things, or this past relationship, like it was so fun, but now we broke up and my heart's torn. It's like all the things that life tells you that's supposed to be fun, if you actually watch it, it's like these people are in deep pain and they're trying to cover it up. It's almost like they're chasing after the wind, and instead of actually trying to be happy, they're chasing distraction from their happiness. They're so unhappy that they just need to do something other than not be happy that they think is going to make them happy. And instead they have relationship problems with their parents, problems at school. But you know what? They're having fun. So you know what? Like, it might be lame, and I was so afraid of being a pastor and standing up here, because a lot of times we say, don't chase the wind, chase Jesus, right? And it sounds good, it sounds like right, but at the end of the day, it's like, no, if we're accused of being boring, chase the boring. because I had more fun on Saturday night sitting around a table talking with guys about life than I would have if I was at a party throwing one back. Like, I've had more fun going on walks with my wife than I ever thought I would going on these extravagant vacations. See, I think we've been told another little mini lie in this 5 lies of life, that life has to be this big, giant ordeal where we're on the beach by ourselves, there's nobody else around, it's Instagram perfect, it's all the things that it could ever want in our life, and it's just not going to bring us the happiness we think it will. And so my hope and my prayer this school year is that you chase the boring. When everybody else is doing something instead, you go out with a friend and you get coffee and you just spend time together. That you carry each other's burdens, that you walk through some pain, that when somebody gets sent home from school because they might have COVID, instead of saying, hey, I'll see you in 2 weeks, no, you're calling in, you're FaceTiming him. You're bringing that person in. I've got a life motto that I want to share with you tonight. And I've never actually shared this with anybody. I've actually never even said this to my wife. I almost just said that I whisper this to myself, but that's weird. No, I say this, but this is something that I say to myself almost on a daily basis as a reminder, and it's this. It says, it's choose significance over success. Choose significance over success. Students, if you follow Jesus Christ, if you stood up and you said, I have made a decision that for the rest of my life is dedicated to Jesus. I'm going to be different. I'm going to live for him. Here's what we do, is we no longer chase success. Every part of me wants to be the best youth pastor in West Georgia. Every part of me wants to be the best husband, the best dad, all the best things. I want people to look up to me and say, dang, look at Trey. Right? And most people don't because I wear Lululemon, but at the end of the day, I want people to look at me and I want them to say I'm successful, but the truth is I actually had to examine my own heart and I was lying to myself. I don't want to be successful, I want to be significant. I want students, I want Jackson Hydorn, I want Chloe, I want Amos, I want all these students to be able to look and they want to say, hey, Trey made a difference in my life through Jesus. I want to be significant. I want to be a husband that is known to love his wife well, not a successful husband, a significant one. I want to be a significant dad. I want to be a significant pastor. You want to know why? Because I'm no longer the hero if I'm successful. Instead, when I'm significant, other people are the heroes, and instead I get to be Jesus in their life. And my hope and my prayer is that becomes your hope and your prayer, is that you choose to chase the boring, and that you choose significance over success. Students, the school year is officially back. Everyone is back in school. Everyone is back. They're in person, and we're going for it. And my hope and my prayer is that this school year is different. My hope and my prayer is that this school year is not like all the other school years, that you literally take a step back and that you learn that popularity, sports, whatever, grades, whatever it is, will never bring you the happiness you desire. Students, I don't want you to waste your life chasing the wind. I want you to chase the boring. Chase after what Jesus has for you. And you might be like, Trey, what the heck does that even mean? I don't know, but I'm willing to walk it out with you. There's leaders in the back that are willing to try and figure it out. I know we got leaders in the back that are still trying to navigate their own life, but they're willing to do it with you. But at the end, we're at the end of the message. My hope and my prayer is real simple. Don't chase the wind. It hasn't made you happy before. It won't make you happy in the future, and you know that. You've got your card, and you've got your notes, and you're going to do one last thing, and here's how this is going to work. We're going to do a little bit different of a version of breakout groups tonight. I want you to circle up into your breakout groups, but before you do, there's 3 questions that I want you to answer that just by yourself. You don't have to share these with your breakout group. This is just for you. If you don't want to answer them right now, you honestly don't have to, but I want you to take it home, and I want you to pray about it and think about it. Because if we go through this whole series and you can't answer these 3 questions, then we missed something. Here are the 3 questions. Who do I want to be? What makes me happy? And where in my life do I need to stop chasing after the wind this school year? You got to answer those questions. Now, as a follower of Jesus, it's pretty much Jesus, Jesus, Jesus across the board, okay? But the truth is I want all of you to answer that question, because I don't want you to get to the end of your life and have arrived at a point where you thought you would be happy and you're not. Decide, who do I want to be? What makes me happy? Where in my life do I need to stop chasing after the wind? What I want you guys to do is, as you're doing that, if you'll do me a favor, like circle up into your groups, and then don't talk, answer those questions, and then in about a minute or two, we're gonna do something a little different. So, you guys have a few minutes.